family have a right to control their own wealth. We exercise every inalienable right on the book and in the ethos. That means that even if they forgot about that inalienable right, we exercising that too.
Facts. Yep, because because they do have to turn it into a technocrat system. Because I know that's the end goal. I know that as far as like the Project 2025 manifesto. Some people said it's like it's all it was fake and Donald Trump he didn't create it and stuff like that. But
You
I know
breaking
that
up a little bit, but there.
okay, let me come. But can you hear me now? Am I
Yeah,
good
it's
now?
cleaning up.
Okay, but I know that
Yep.
the Project 2025 manifesto, like that's like in alignment with totalitarianism. I mean, it basically eradicates the whole perception of the far left and what they propagate through liberalism. But at the end goal, but it's really the same thing. It's the same shit. Actually, it's like they both have the same end goal, but it basically gets rid of the hedonistic activity that's coming from the left.
But you gotta
That's
remember, it was there was two sets of plans being worked. If
right.
we lose, we fall under the totalitarian permanent dictator of Earth and live.
Yep.
Restricted will environment. If we win, then all of his restrictive will dictatorships fall. And then we have to teach the people how to live as sovereign and autonomous beings on the planet.
Hmm.
Because we don't know. We don't know what freedom look like because we haven't seen it yet in this cycle. So you don't have nothing to compare it to,
Hmm.
right? So the old system wanted to create enough fear for them to overtake us mentally, spiritually, subjugate us so that they can come out victorious. There was only one problem. They couldn't remember how to close the conjures out.
Mm.
So the same people that caused the problem had to do the same thing that the people that was victims of the problem. They had to call the same person to come and find out how to revert, how to get out of these conjures.
It's good to hear from
That's one thing I'm always envious of the brothers with the dreads because
you.
I gotta get some treatments done on my scalp before I grow them.
Hey, and it's funny, I'm a barber, so I always supply everybody with all the different stuff to do with your locks. Man, just everything natural. Just everything natural. That's it.
One question I gotta answer. She says the lady chiefs too. It's probably gonna be more women chiefs than it is men. We had both, and we had under the matriarchal system, we had a whole lot of female chiefs that had feathers, full regalia feathers. So we not patriarchal people. We matriarchal by nature.
Mhm.
So come on with it, blood. What's on your mind today?
Oh man, man, a lot. But you've hit a lot of different points. But one of the main things I wanted to kind of find out, um, what is that process looking like? I'm not sure if you went over it already, but what is the process looking like of getting him out? And what do you think is the most effective way for us to be able to help that process? Because I'm gonna try to
The
do
most
everything I can with my platform, and yeah.
Okay, so when we get enough of the people from the land to say free Larry Hoover, they already agreed. They just waiting on us to get that number. I don't know what the number is,
Okay.
but they waiting on us to hit a certain number of people on board with free Larry Hoover because a whole lot of stuff is encapsulated with that.
Okay.
While we doing this part, they trying to tell him where you can go, but this one gotta stay. He ain't no, we all going. And you're not finna make us pick between each other no more. We not doing that shit no more.
Okay.
Ain't no big eyes and no little U's. And the best thing we can do, each one teach one, get the word out, get on our platform, explain it to people so they understand that the chiefs of the land has been on the land, but they've been incapacitated by a rogue system.
Okay. Okay. You
You
called
know
them.
what?
You called them. what are they? Skin. You said skin. What did you call them? The individuals that are intruding right now.
Oh, you talking about the ones that look like us that ain't us?
Yeah,
To trust
yeah.
me more.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
they
Okay.
came over as conquistadors
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
reigned. Yeah,
All my paths kind of led here. That's wild. Okay. I've been studying this before I ran into you. Just studying what happened with the Moors and studying what happened with just the Aboriginals of the land. Because my people from Mississippi. So I found out I'm Blackfoot native. I'm like, man, I went through all my family line. I'm over here trying to get my family. We still got over 50 acres of land in Columbia, Mississippi. I'm trying to figure out what we got to do to just harness this thing on down and just in totality. So hearing what you're saying, I'm hearing I got information. I was studying C.L. Freeman and just different individuals who talk about,
yeah. Freeman
you
Hill is
know,
the truth.
man, like I'm just man, that's why I'm saying all my roads led here. And
Hmm
I'm just trying to do whatever I can, bringing all my people together, bringing all my boys together. I'm from LA. I actually grew up in Inglewood. So like it's just it's crazy, like learning so much about what happened with my family, and then just like seeing other people, and then just seeing different people's faces. Now you seeing how common we all are. You know what I mean? And
hmm
it's just blowing me. I'm a young boy trying to learn this thing. So you know,
Well, once this shit flip, we're gonna be having classes. All the other tribes is gonna be orienting everybody to the particular tribal rules and the culture across the
okay,
land. So, like the chiefs on the land, we all fall. We got our own tribe, and then we got the tribe that we fall up under from birth. Like I'm a GD, but I'm also Chief Pontiac, local clan, right?
okay,
So, I got the distinction because the Chief Pontiac was out of commission when the lot came up for us, right? So I
okay.
had already traversed the land, right, and went around and picked up the keys from the different cultures on the land.
That's crazy.
So this how Larry and them able to win talk with me, flip me signs and flip me messages
That's
from an enclosed location like that.
and then man, that's deep. That's crazy. Okay. It's real crazy because I'm learning all this stuff, and at the same time I'm having life experiences. I'm like I got spoke to directly, by a woman. You know what I mean? The voice was like real subtle, and she just basically was just saying that like um that you're a heroic being from a different from time ago, and basically that is many here like you, and that y'all
It's a
about to
lot. It's
basic.
a lot more than yeah. So we
Yeah,
had
it
all of
blew
the
me.
masters have to be here now. You surprised how many? It's not supposed to be this many of us on the land right now. The fact that it's this many of us on the land mean the problem was horrible,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So it needed all of us, and we all got to look at the problem how we see it, and then one of us got to be able to put it all back together, right? So just like they shattered us and scattered us, when all of the pieces reassemble, we like transformers.
I see. Okay.
So now the information part is where we at now. Inform, organize, organize. Inform, organize. I
Okay.
got all the receipts. The motherfucker can say I'm lying, but they can go argue with them receipts I got.
Man, that's crazy. Okay, so well, I want to do my part. Like I said, I'm a barber out here. This is not on my page, but I'm actually getting ready to open a shop like downtown LA area. So I need to figure out who I need to check in with, because that all that matter, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like,
What's
and it's
you know the the area you in?
well, I'm gonna be predominantly downtown, kind of off of 8th and Main,
Mm.
like around that area, around the fashion district. So
What when you know what set you on, you greet one of them brothers with respect. Respect, bro. I'm not from your clique, but I need to check in with the OGs over here so they know I'm on the land.
okay. Yeah, so I grew up by the forum, so all my family was like neighborhoods and all that. So I gotta figure out Well, I you
Yo,
know.
if you already from over there, you ain't gotta check in. You already know who your OG is. It's his
Uh,
job to make sure that he communicate across. Let's say, for instance, you rolling 60, you finna go to rolling 20 territory. It ain't nothing to call your OG. I need to cross the rolling 20s, man. I don't need no smoke. I need you to give him a heads up. I'm coming through town.
okay.
All love when you come through. No disrespect, all love. The problem come in is they taught us to not have any respect one for another.
Yeah. No, that
So we
man.
don't want to do stuff like that.
Exactly. Exactly. And
You
that's
know
why I
what I'm
wanted
saying?
to.
But it's just common courtesy.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. That was my whole point because I'm coming back. I'm gonna be going back home. So I'm like, I need to just go make sure. You know what I mean? I don't know the movement. I don't know what it is right now because my pops
So
got
look,
us
let's
out of
say
there.
for
So
instance you go back to Mississippi to visit.
yeah.
All you gotta do is find out who the old lady is in the family and you check in with her. She gonna make sure everybody that need to know you there and you on her watch. She gonna make it known,
Okay.
you know.
All right. Okay. And yeah, I mean, I got a lot of questions for you, but I know you got stuff y'all gotta get done. So I'm just here for it. Whatever we gotta do.
All right, just
I'll check
keep
on in.
watching. We gonna answer some more questions before we end it.
All right, for sure. I appreciate you.
Mhm. For sure.
All right.
Yeah.
On them. Wow. Words of wisdom. Wow. And so this is what we do. I look at all of the conflicts in history, and I noticed that there's a lot of different causes for conflict, but there's a better cause for peace. You see, you gotta have two sides to fight a war, because when the people are used as the weapons, you take the weapons out of the equation. When the weapons are no longer in the equations of war, then they can't destroy us. They can't crush us. Peace. So as I sit back and I observe, I remember when I was a little boy, we be at the basketball court. There's always somebody that want to be unruly, ignorant, foolish, irrational, and hard to work with, right? So when we played basketball, what we would do is we take our ball and go. Take our ball and we would go home. This had a kind of odd effect that I noticed. Be a whole bunch of trash talk, but within short order, if a ball don't show up, everybody go home. They go on their separate ways. You know, you got some stragglers that sit around and stay where they at, don't want to make no moves. They just want to stay stagnant, but that's fine. They still can't play ball. They can stay at the park on the basketball court, but they can't play ball without a basketball. And those who own the basketball is aware of this. They know this. But if the person who owned the basketball is unaware that he can take his ball and go home, and it would cripple the whole game, he don't have to tear nothing up. He don't have to fight nobody on the court. He don't have to fight the bully. He don't have to slap the little guy. All he had to do is just say, hey, man, get my ball. I'm going home. And he go home. Everybody going to be looking at him crazy. But guess what? Everybody end up going home if no other balls come. Now, expand that on a massive scale, like globally, right? Let's just say that America, no, let's say we don't even use country we in. We want to use two countries that don't got nothing to do with us directly. So let's say we take Brazil wants to attack India, and none of the soldiers are willing to fight in that war. None of them. Not a single one, from the generals to the foot soldiers. How the heck can we die? How can you wage a war when the tools of the war are inoperable. They don't work. You can't. It's impossible. Take your ball and go the fuck home. But you would have to have a call for a specific type of unity across various borders. You would have to have a call for unity that would embrace so many people that when people take their ball and go home, everybody go home. They already know what it's about. They already know what it's about. It's about the march to peace. And the march to peace sometimes is the family-oriented event. Go home. Play with your children. Kiss your wife. Hug your mama. Get wisdom from your father. You know? You don't have to always tear things apart, shred stuff. It's a reason for all of this chaos is because we keep allowing it. The easiest way to stop the foolishness and the ignorance, the easiest way is all of the mothers tell your child, we ain't fighting for these animals. Because they have to be animals to pit us together to fight us like animals. And if they're going to put us together and fight us like animals, they have to use something against us that would allow us to do that. And the greatest tool in the history of the world is divide and conquer. Now, we've been thinking that there's been one nation versus another nation in these wars. That's absolutely not what it is. It's never been in Germany versus France in World War II. That wasn't even the purpose. World War I, ain't got nothing to do with no Lithuanian ships. You know, got nothing to do with that. And it's population control by using the very people that you want to quell the population as the implements of war. They know that we like combat because we mastered the martial arts in all ancient cultures because we wanted to learn how to defend our clans from invaders no matter where they may come from. Here we are now. We on Earth. We look around and all we see is conflict, bloodshed, disunity, disharmony, backbiting, backstabbing, resentments, hatred, bigotry, foolishness, and ignorance. All that stuff in one pot, then they stir it up and feed it to us, and we eat it. We don't have to eat it. Every mother should just call her children in the military and just say, come home. We're not fighting for these animals. If we're going to have any type of conflict, we should be fighting in our own interest. Who's gaining? Look at the Wounded Warriors. See, we need to do something like to federalize this Wounded Warrior project. And right, but that's the whole point. It was a trick from the beginning. Okay, I'm going to read this. Many nations that does not look like us came together against us and plotted against each other. Right, but see, that's the trick. Because they used the minority population on the planet. By exalting the minority population, they got the smallest group. So at the time that the people of the mass realized that the smallest group is oppressing the largest group, then we could just annihilate them and get rid of the problem, but that was never the problem to begin with, because then they're going to go to the next smallest group and superiorize them. We can't fall for that. This is the end of them games. So it worked like this. Ain't no more white people that was created in this Babylonian experiment. The genetic mess up has been clean. That's over with. Now everybody have the capabilities of rising to their own level of greatness. Everybody. And because everybody can rise to their own level of greatness, we should all be able to pull this plank out our eye and see the enemy for who he is. If we trace it all back, it end up with one person. And you know, they want to tell us, you know, don't be anti-Semitic and all of this. It ain't Israel as a nation over there in the Middle East, because they pawns. They pawns. The Khazarians, the Ashkenazi, the Sephardi, those are pawns. Nope, those are not pawns. They're more like rooks and bishops on the chessboard. They bigger pieces, but they're expendable. So you got to track it back. Now, how do you track it back? You follow the dollar. You follow the currency, you find out who reaps the greatest benefit of all. Well, I used to think when I was a lot younger that it was the royal families of Europe. But then I came to, through research, to realize that it's not the royal families of Europe. It traced back to one particular house in one particular place in one particular person. And he wears a crown that represents 3 tiers, which is your economics, your military, and political strength. And also it represents your religious strength. By combining them all together, that's where your spiritual weaving comes in, your spider web. So if the world want to know who's responsible, you got to find out who's claimed right of all of the souls on earth to undermine the rights of the people who own their own soul. Now remember, your U.S. Constitution says, nope, your Declaration of Independence says that you have God-given inalienable rights. That means that nobody can take them from you, but they can trick you out of them if you surrender them. They can trick you into giving up your rights. But there's somebody on this planet that filed paperwork in 1301 to capture the souls of the people. And it's the same one person that seats all of the royalty and confirms them and gives them the appearance of being the problem. Now, the royal families do have things that's going to be dealt with, like adrenochrome in the drinking of baby blood that's prohibited. And you don't know that Queen Elizabeth is not still alive. She's been dead. That's an imposter that they're using over there, so they don't want nobody to know. She's gone. And Pope Francis makes mockery of every single human on earth. He is the animal. I told y'all at the close of the age, I would pull the curtain off the man who stands behind it, pulling the strings in the land of Oz. His name now is Pope Francis. But it's the same symbiote who jumped body to body for thousands of years so he can survive eternally. And he wants to deprive you of your eternal life by allowing his host to live as comfortable as possible. But he have to have a certain biological signature trait. And this certain biological signature trait allows the symbiote to attach. Now, if you go back, you probably won't see it very far back in history, but when they see the Pope, they tell you there's a meeting of, bishops, and that they are all in there voting and negotiating who would be Pope. That's cool. It makes sense, but it ain't true. You see, they got a period of time where they have to go through different blood types and genetic signatures in order that the symbiote can actually cleave to the host. And so they have a series of these hosts that sit there in a stasis-like state while the symbiote attaches through his eye into his brain. And there's a part of the brain that connects the 2 hemispheres, and this little symbiote lodges there. Now, I don't think the world should participate in this rotten, bloody mess anymore. You know what I think they ought to do? I think every head of state need to send me and my thugs over there so I can get that symbiote out of his head. All these kids don't need to keep coming home with arms blowed off, legs blowed off, holes in their body, bullets in their head, plates in their head. That's horrendous. That's atrocious. And it's unnecessary and uncalled for. But nobody wants to trace the issue of divide and conquer back to its source. People should love each other and should try to work together at all costs to overcome this unstoppable evil. But we don't want to do that because the evil turns us against each other, and it began with the Tower of Babel scenario. The Tower of Babel was there as a reminder of the problem and who caused it. So, when you go through the John Wick series, John Wick is a man in love with a woman that he met that got him out of a horrible lifestyle. And as you walk through the storyline, he ends up in part 3. Now, notice there's 3 parts to the John Wick story. And he goes into the desert, and here you have Maitreya. Here you have Maitreya. I told y'all he was the one behind the problem. I posted him in Africa deceiving people on my Facebook page so y'all can see exactly who's responsible for this evil that we are being subjugated by. Also, his pawn or his queen is the Pope. Check that out. His queen is the Pope. Now here's the analysis that you understand what you're dealing with. If you go back in history, you will notice that before 325, there was no such thing as what we call the Catholic Church because Christendom hadn't been established yet. It was established by Pope Constantine. Pope Constantine needed the believers, the faithful, the Almoravides, the defenders of the faith. He needed to capture them, put them in sequestered locations, and under the threat of death, they would have to come up with a common belief system in which they would install the papacy. They did that, but they left us clues along the way, breadcrumbs for us to discover this deception and expose this rotten beast for who he is. Now, the Pope is the queen, the seat that he's sitting in. This was originally called the Noon Priestess. They never changed them. They just called them nuns now. And the Noon Priestess was headed up by a woman who we know her as the Black Madonna. And a lot of people that understand the history of ancient Egypt will call her Isis, the queen of heaven and earth. That's her seat. I'm going to replace her back on her seat if the people want the tyranny of earth to end. Otherwise, I'm just going to go hang out with my peeps in the hood and do hood stuff. We're going to clean up the hood. I would rather clean earth up than to just focus on one local community. I didn't do all this studying for nothing. I couldn't rest in my soul until I found out who was responsible for this treachery. The one you call Yahweh in your Old Testament, that you call God now, is the same one that the Christ called Legion in the New Testament. And your proof is all in the book. When you go back to the tribes of Israel, one of the tribes is called Gad, G-A-D. If you know grammar, Grimm's Law of Grammar say all vowels are interchangeable in translation. The word Gad is your word God. When they translate it into German, it becomes the word Gut, G-U-T, because the D and the T is interchangeable. Also, in the vowel scenario, just like when you change your F and V's when you go from a knife to knives, it's the same law of grammar. So now we understand that Gad means a troop. Well, when he asked the demon, who are you? He said, we are legion, for we are many. That's saying the exact same thing. Now, the absolute verification is the Pope has declared himself owner of all souls on earth. And it's the same symbiote, it's just a different host. And he thinks that nobody's going to figure him out. I've posted him antagonizing and taunting the people of earth and doing exactly what the text say he would do at this time to expose who he is. He said that Satan is strong and the Christ has failed. Now he's supposed to be a representative of the Christ. But he's telling you Christ failed. Think about that. Don't believe me. Go check all this stuff I'm telling you out. You can just scroll my page and all the evidence you need is on my Facebook. It's not hard to find. Not only that, all of the signs say he the last pope. When you go through all of the historical records of prophecies about the pope, that's it. Because he had to be exposed. And once he get exposed, the books say that the world would look and say, is this him? This one? Is this the one that had us all under this terror and treachery? Well, not exactly, but exactly that's him. He is the hidden hand behind all of the treachery and the wickedness on this planet. They go to JFK's speech, Separation of Church and State. I'm going to give you the historical background of that speech. The Separation of Church and State speech came about because Pope Francis being a Jesuit, and the Jesuit priesthood being the tyrants who come and put the pressure on the presidents and heads of state around the world in order to do the bidding of the Catholic Church. Mind you, this is not a condemnation of every Catholic priest, but the pedophile cult of priests, they all his. You want to see a righteous priest? All you got to do is go to Chicago. Father Pfleger fight for the rights of the people. So that don't mean that all of the Catholics are bad. See, that's how they get us. Because they take a minority to shine a negative light on the majority. We done with that. This is a new era. We're going to
Analysis.
Go ahead. You can see it. You can see it. Yeah, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that he got this. He gets sunburned. Sun takes.
Yeah. So his story, this picture right here, he's supposed to be like 100 and something years old.
Okay. That's another reason too. He 100 or something.
Yeah, but black don't crack.
No, black don't crack like this though. My grandma was 100 and something. She ain't look like this.
Mm-hmm. Anybody that know people know where that motherfucker come from.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get back to the post. We got some more Dogs Roll reading to do.
Yeah, I like this. I like your post on your page. You got some good shit. All right, let's roll that back, baby. That pull back up, please. Where were we? Hold on, we were right here. All right.
Keep going. That's just a commercial. The Curtis Act passed in 1898, targeted to 5 civilized tribes. Here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They call these the 5 civilized tribes, and they changing the names.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. Specifically Cherokee and Seminole. Seminole should be Gullah or Gullah Getcha. Mm-hmm. And Cherokee is a whole nother word. I can't even pronounce that shit right now because my mind ain't over there. Mm-hmm. But the Curtis Act passed in 1898 targeted 5 civilized tribes, forcing them to accept allotments and register on the dog roll. Now here's the key thing. It says to accept allotments. What does that mean?
To accept reservations, I think.
Absolutely. See, so they was moving to put $5 Indians on reservations using this system. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's say the 2 acts which came, scroll down, during the period of murky social context. See what that say?
Mm-hmm. Murky social context. Look, these niggas will be wording some shit, man.
Right. Now,
not clear. I mean, it's not clear. It's not a clear,
right,
decisive, you know.
All right, now look. This is where the murky social context come in. After the Civil War, when white and so-called black men were intermarrying with Native American women, aimed to help the government keep track of real Indians, while accelerating efforts to assimilate Indian people into so-called white culture. Right? So this is what murkied the waters, the one drop of blood doctrine, the great melding pot. Everybody giving up a drop of blood, and then they all coming together to try to confuse the genetics. All right, let's keep going. We ain't done. By 1865, African Americans and white Americans were moving into the Midwest, into the Indian and Oklahoma territories, all vying for some patch of land that they could call their own and live out their Jeffersonian view of independence. All right? Scroll down. Let's see what's read some more.
Yes.
He said the federal government poured a lot of effort and energy into the Dawes Commission, but at the same time, it was very hard for both Native and American governments to keep track of who was who. All right. Now, this is important when we get to the Trail of Tears.
Okay.
The Dawes Commission set up tents in Indian territory. They told us that we lived in teepees.
Yeah.
Right?
Get the hell out of here with that shit. Go ahead.
Look, go back to Google for a minute. We're going to come back to this page, but we're going to go to Google and type in Hun's tents. HUN_S tents. And then go to images. Okay.
They look like these right here, though. They look like these right here, I know. Kind of like these.
Those modern tents.
Yeah, but they're like the old ones.
Put in ancient in front of it.
Yeah, that's right. Let me do it like that. So there you go, right here. Like this kind. Right here. The richer guys had like a more of a nice one though, but like the kings and shit. But it's the same thing as those.
We didn't live in tents, but I'm gonna show you that in a minute. But first, we're looking at these tents. Now, take out Hun and put in Mongol.
All right. All right, it's the Mongol. Let me say these in my that folder. Damn.
That one you clicked on have a Sri Yantra on the front.
Because I'm putting a book together called Young Elder and the Raw Haynes book. I'm going into more detail on it. So,
hey, look, you know what's out cold? Motherfuckers be talking about, I remember a lot of stuff. All this shit come from Baba, Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, and the government.
Yeah. This is a good one right here. And the same people was building those igloos, with the ice.
Yeah, but they also got teepees. They also got nomadic tents that they carried around with them that wasn't so big. And those are the ones that they said was our teepees.
And it was only for traveling, right? For these people that traveled when they were traveling, going to battle people.
Right. Because all of the Huns and the Mongols were nomads. They was always on the go. They didn't set up farming camps.
They call it a jir, also called Ura. Is a Mongoloid yurk. Is a Mongoloid tent home. Imagine living in a home that looked like a piece of candy, a Hershey's Kiss, but it's 9 feet height, 15 feet round. Actually, a jir might look rather odd, but they were very comfortable. So it's the Mongoloid. Let me blow it.
So they can fold their house up and leave at any given time. All right, let's get back to the business at hand. We can go back to that later on. We're gonna pull up a TP from over there, in Asian TP.
Okay.
All right, so the Dawes Commission set up tents in Indian territory. Right, this is somebody named Bill Welch, Director Emeritus of the Oklahoma Historical Society Office of American Indian Culture and Preservation.
Dang, hold up. I don't want it to freeze up while we're doing it. Hold up. There you go. My bad. There you go.
Okay, it's their field clerks scoured written records. Scroll down.
Okay.
Took oral testimony. Remember, we do everything orally anyway.
Yeah.
And generated enrollment cards for individuals determined to have Indian blood. Now, remember, they didn't have blood tests back then.
Yeah.
How the fuck they know who got Indian blood?
Right. Right.
You gotta keep that in mind because they make it sound like they could just run a blood test like they can now, pull your DNA and say, oh, you Chickasaw, you Choctaw, you Cherokee, you Ojibwe, right? They couldn't do that back then. So look what they're doing. They took oral testimony and scoured written record.
Yeah.
Right? All right, now, that's good. That included authentic Indians. How they know they're authentic?
They're right. Yeah.
They declaring them authentic under the Dawes Roll.
Mm-hmm.
But it also included lots of people with questionable heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And you see it, and they already know this shit that I'm telling y'all. So this is not a secret. Commissioners took advantage of their positions and enrolled people who had very minimal or questionable connections to the tribes. They were not adverse to taking money under the table. What you say?
What you say?
What you say? They can't be doing that. Look at this 8. Index to final roles of citizens and freed men of the 5 civilized tribes in Indian Territory, prepared by the Commission and Commissioner. Biggie Smalls, the Commission. American Indian Removal Policy and the Trail of Tears. Now we're getting good. Andrew Jackson policy led to a shameful episode in U.S. history. And this is who we talking about.
The nigga on a $20 bill. That's why I don't like 20s, man. That's why I don't like 20s right there. I don't like 20s.
Well, I spend the shit out the motherfuckers. I don't plan on putting nothing up in no frame, no way.
Right.
All right, now look. The American Indian Removal Policy of President Andrew Jackson was prompted by the desire of so-called white settlers in the South to expand into lands belonging to the 5 indigenous tribes. After Jackson succeeded in pushing the Indian Removal Act through Congress in 1830, the U.S. government spent nearly 30 years forcing indigenous people to move westward beyond the Mississippi River. This is the Trail of Tears.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about.
But that's going to come back up because that's part of the biblical contract.
Mm-hmm.
In the most notorious example of this policy, more than 15,000 members of the Cherokee tribes were forced to walk from their homes in southern states to a designated territory in present-day Oklahoma in 1838. Now, this is before the Dawes Roll.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Damn.
Many died along the way. The forced relocation became known as the Trail of Tears because of the great hardship faced by Cherokees. In brutal conditions, nearly 4,000 Cherokee died on the Trail of Tears. Mm-hmm. Go back up and look how long this took place. Look how long this was going on. Go back up.
Go back up right here.
Right there. They spent nearly 30 years forcing indigenous people to move westward beyond the Mississippi.
Man.
Right? Now, where do this happen? Somewhere in the Bible. Don't this happen somewhere in the Bible? Somebody was traveling around for 30, 40 years because they ain't had no homeland.
The Israelites.
Where was they coming from?
They were coming from ancient Kemet.
Mm-hmm. Who was they following?
Who they following? Moses.
Okay, and Elijah Muhammad said Moses did what?
Go ahead. I can't remember.
Elijah Muhammad said Moses was the one that was sent to civilize the so-called pale man.
Yeah, okay, yeah, to put the boat. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, I'm with you.
Remember, he said Moses had to sleep in the ring of fire because they were so savage they might eat him in his sleep.
Right. Go ahead. That's right.
Right? Now, in Here is 30 years. The biblical stories say 40 years.
Okay.
So it's a 40-year sojourn.
Okay.
Right? So this 30 years take us to 1860, 40 years take us to 1870, about 12 years before the Dawes Roll Act.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So from 1830 to the Dawes Roll, okay, go over to Google and pull Dawes Roll up again. We got to get the exact year again.
I got you. Boom. We hitting it. Man, this shit's sticky. Man, bro.
What you pulling up? I can't see that.
I'm pulling up the Dawes Roll, but like my shit was sticking. Don't let me type in. There you go, right here. It's the year is 1898. Hold on. Let me go back. Let me go back. Just find out. Okay. The Dawes Roll, also known as the Final Roll, are listed individuals who accepted eligible tribe membership in the 5 indigenous tribes: Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole. It does not include those whose application was stricken, rejected, or judged to be doubtful. Probably some dark-skinned people, right? Real Indians tried to file and they got shot down, right? Those found eligible for the Final Roll were entitled to we just had read that, right? Allotments of land, usually as a homestead.
Mm-hmm.
So the roll contain more than 101,000 names from 18